Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda commences tonight's satsang with a Sanskrit peace chant.
Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We begin with mystic song by Sri Swami Lalitananda, played and sung by Sri Swami Umananda and Rajneesh.
Our song tonight is based on a poem by Swamiji. It's called O Krishna. O Krishna, may I dream of you, dancing with me on the grassy banks of the Yamuna river. Oh, Krishna, abide in my deepest thoughts and unspoken feelings, singing the melody of eternity. May my soul merge with you. May my waking hours be filled with the sweetness of your being. May my life flow on like the Yamuna river, sparkling with your smile, merging with your divine love. In the depths of my heart, oh Krishna, may I ever abide with you. We are recording from the ashram of our revered Guru, Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda in Miami, Florida. Today is October the 23rd, 2018, Tuesday evening, and tonight Swamiji will be lecturing on Yoga Vasistha. This is series 2018, class number 82. And now Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda.
Om Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha, Utpatti Prakarana, section 111, 111. Subtle insights for controlling the mind. So, whoever has mind, listen. Sri Vasistha continued, O Rama, now I will relate to you the infallible remedy for treating the disease of the mind. Term disease. Sanskrit style, Hindi style. When you meet someone, you say, how are you? And immediately also give a kind of affirmative. Aap swasth hain? Are you healthy? The word is swasth, which subtle meaning behind it. Are you abiding in the self? Are you sthit prajna? But that's just like with salutation. Pranam. You are negating me and mine. The many subtle points go through. Namaskar, Namah. That goes into all mantras, which refer to neither me nor mine. The sense ego within you is not your reality. And ego-based vision, all this belongs to me, that also. So when you move these and turn your attention to God within, that's each adoration, each salutation is putting into your mind a divine trick. Sages create, that's called culture. Culture means divine trick. You follow the culture. And you are tricked in such a way that the lower self, you will not be dominated by the lower self. You move away to the higher self. Coming back to the word swastha, to abide in the self, that's the real state of health. The state of disease is again even English words, you see, dis-ease. Are you in ease? No. Then where is this? If you can't answer it, then we are diseased. Okay. Coming to more to the point. Disease, root disease called Mool Adhi. Root disease, ignorance. Until ignorance is removed and the soul is freed from the predicament of coming back again and again, the cycle of birth and death. If freed of it, then you have attained real health. Until then, you are haunted by the root disease. But the root disease have two fingers, mental and physical. Mental disease is called adhi. Physical is called vyadhi. And both are interdependent. But from the evaluation point of view, adhi is stronger than vyadhi. Physical problems that you have, they emanate from your mental process. Mind has generated the samskaras. Mind has restricted the flow of vitality. So ultimately, all your physical troubles are sourced through your mind. The very embodiment has been sourced by your mind. So that point should not be forgotten. In practical life, however, you face the situation in both ways. Work for promoting physical health by your yoga exercises, etc. At the same time, allow your mind to be in a very positive level. So when the mind handles, when you practice your yoga with a joyous mind, or you handle your body, its problems, with a positive mind, the effect is quicker. But if you divide it completely, you let your mind think and have nothing to work upon, nothing to be positive about, and just wait for the body to make you happy. Sometimes it happens. But if you advance, don't fall into that stage. Don't wait for the body to make you happy. Your happiness should be in your mental plane. How do you view things? If you are taking good medicine, if you are under good guidance, you are making your life saras, enjoyable and purposeful, then physical body and its conditions will automatically come to a positive state. That type of confidence builds, and that type of relationship between mind and body must develop. Simple way of saying this, kind of complementary, supplementary, body and mind, of which mind is more important, because physically you can make your body very healthy, but your mind can upset this health process in one instant. Through misunderstanding, you develop an ill will or negative way of looking at a person. And the person causes you more irritation. And then you lose your temper. And then what happens? All your vital forces run riot. And all this constant disturbance in your vital process, constant disharmony in the function of pranas, begin to reflect, begin to operate through your physical body. So, out of these two types of disease, physical and mental, mental is most important, most vital. So Vasistha says, "O Rama, now I will relate to you the infallible remedy. As long as your remedy is only in for physical body, it's not infallible. But if you can cure the mind by freeing it of ignorance, then that's infallible. Now we are not going to fall into disease again." If you were to renounce the objects to which your mind is attached, you will overcome the mind, even as a strong, tusked elephant overpowers a weak elephant with broken tusks. Now, if you were to renounce the objects to which your mind is attached, try to understand in a profound way. Mind gets connected with objects through raga and dvesha. Raga is like, dvesha is dislike. if you dislike a person, you are more drawn to the object than if you like the object. So don't get fooled. So, from broad point of view, your mind gets more involved. Firstly, mind gets involved with objects through raga and dvesha, like and dislike. And of which dislike keeps you more dependent on objects. That's why people get hooked to the TVs. You dislike someone. You want to hear something bad to go for him and watch the TV. Enjoy those people who speak against him. Clap your hands. But become frustrated. Then your expectation is not being fulfilled. But still you keep your mind positive, not today, tomorrow. As long as that's the habit of the mind, the act of seeing all this, that's nothing harmful. But how do you relate yourself? If your whole life, whole day depends upon some news to come from the TV, then you are living a miserable life. But when you watch it in a playful way, learn lessons, and everything, world opens up to give you education. So, if you were to renounce your involvement with objects, involvement is through attachment and hatred. And again, to understand well, by objects imply those objects that are intensifying tamas and rajas. Tamas building up within you more hatred, more helpless dependence, and making you inwardly, making your will weaker and weaker. The tamasic movement, simple way of saying, if your mind goes on enjoying revenge, contempt, looking at the faults of others, if that becomes the story for the mind, then you are becoming deeply involved with objects of the world. Renouncing the object implies that tamasic movement should stop. Similarly, rajasic movement. Rajasic, you took a trip to some place and found it was enjoyable. Now your home is not so enjoyable. You set your mind to a goal. Let me stay for 3 months and day by day dream how wonderful the future trip is going to be. And you are putting all your eggs together for the future trip. They don't call it eggs together. Put your ducks in line. If that type of life one lives, then when adversity comes, or automatically all this mental energy that is not allowing you to have a flare of joy in daily life, but the joy is postponed for future. So what happens? You are defeated by every situation. Every problem becomes like a challenge, but you are defeated in the challenge. And sometimes you create your problems even though they are not there. Early in the morning, you suddenly hear the sound of a vulture, and now you create a problem. Today is going to be very bad. And so forth. I will not go into the detail of that. On the other hand, if you learn the art of detaching, renouncing that objects that take away your energy, that can be done. Firstly, move away from tamas and rajas. Rajas is simply allowing the mind to be distracted. Going one place, you find has imagined enjoyment here in Hawaii. Now you are imagining there is more enjoyment waiting in Switzerland. Then you are imagining more enjoyment in real Alaska. And then Amazon has amazing enjoyment. And so forth. Allow the mind to follow sattvic enjoyment. Sattvic enjoyment where you can relax, do some yoga exercises, have satsanga, see your mind relax, go into nature, relax, do some good deeds, acts of charity, generosity, and avoid bitterness. So if you start doing virtuous deeds and turn to virtue and sattvic way of living, now the type of happiness that you enjoy allows your soul to turn towards the source of that happiness, which is God within you. But with sattvic happiness, if you do not go after sattvic happiness, if your happiness is only rajasic and tamasic, I call it hoppiness. If you continue in a hopping way, you are going to break your legs. But if you go sattvic way, you are moving hamsa way. You become a swan. Just as a child is led away from his toys, even so the chitta is gradually persuaded to renounce attachment and consequent distractions and is led on to Brahman, the Absolute. This is the profound way of allowing spiritual sadhana to enter your life. What does that imply? When you study scriptures literally, then you tend to follow something sharp. The scriptures say there is no happiness in the world. Don't find any joy in the world. God alone is the source of joy. Now say, all right, I want to attain God. But when I go into the garden, I start looking at wonderful lizards and big squirrels. Okay, I will put a swab on my eyes. No more of this world. If you follow this, you are falling in the trick based on your own ego. And it leads you nowhere. It leads you away from your goal. Because you're turning away the very same thing that could have inspired you to understand all the beauty that you see in nature comes from God. Same things that could have inspired you, brought positive impressions. Now you are shutting your eyes with a strange understanding that God is somewhere and you are just wanting to have God and none of this. But don't you realize God is all this? But none of your mental evaluations, your moha, the deluded way of looking at it, that's none. That needs to be negated. So in this movement, handle your mind just like a child is being handled. If you allow your mind to be suddenly scolded, then mind will not talk to you. So, just like children, mind says, let's go to watch a cinema show. That puts hairs on their end and horripilation brings up suspense, terror. You tell your mind, wonderful idea. But this is the best show going on in the ashram. Rama is going to destroy Ravana. Kumbhakarna is going to be awakened. Have you heard elephants walk into the ear of... Is that so? So, you are tricked. The mind goes on enjoying this and goes on listening to the power of mantra, power of grace. So that type of persuasive way, mind has to be handled. Recognize your error, but don't become gripped by regret and meaningless sorrow. Recognize your error. Say, God, thank God you have made me understand this error wrong. I will surprise you. I am going to correct it by your own grace. So instead of being gripped with the idea, I have done so many mistakes. And my astrologer says, you did more mistakes in the previous life. And yoga books say, not only previous life, many lives. Imagine, if you handle your negative qualities with so much mental stress, you are simply giving them more importance. And you are stopping your positive movement. So therefore, everything is an art. So just like you would handle a child with great love, with great tenderness, but at the same time great acuteness, give the right instruction. O Rama, the unenlightened mind is like a sheet of iron that is melted in the fires of meditation and good association, and then tempered and cut down by the instruments of pure reason. It's just an allegorical description. Unenlightened mind is like a crude piece of iron. Crude piece of iron, put in your kitchen, what will you do with it? It's not productive, not for any use. If the mind is gripped by rajas and tamas, what purpose does it serve for your soul? All it cooks is illusions, nasty things. Cooks up the whole misery of the world process. But allow that mind, just like the piece of iron is subjected to melting, then by engineers or technicians shaping into proper instruments, and then they become sharp and effective. Similarly, allow the mind to melt through prayer, meditation, devotion, and sharpened by wisdom. Well sharpened, the mind will cut down the illusion of the world process. Mind becomes pure buddhi, pure intellect. Pure intellect is same as intuitive intellect, vivek buddhi. When a child has been disciplined by adopting tenderness along with firmness, he obeys the commands of his guardian. That's the psychology adopted by scriptures. Tenderly, people are brought into satsanga. And when you are engrossed in enjoying everything, you are given the news. You are a dull wit. Don't stay sleeping. Wake up. Arise. Be a hero. Don't be a jackal. Be a lion. And we hear all this. And we appreciate it. When a child has been disciplined by adopting tenderness along with firmness, he obeys the commands of his guardian. In the same way, when the mind is trained by the practice of yogic disciplines and by the cultivation of serenity, contentment, and other virtues, it becomes an obedient servant to the soul. Then there is no difficulty in conquering the mind. Same mind becomes so well developed that instead of keeping the soul in a state of bondage, the mind allows the soul to awaken its hidden potentiality mind is the cause of bondage and release. And just for a moment. He who is unable to conquer the mind by adopting the art of vairagya and viveka towards the objects of the world is like a worm among human beings. That's what is it, how scripture trick. When you conquer the mind, implying allowing the mind to serve the purpose of your soul. Purpose of your soul is 4 stages. Dharma, following the path of virtue. There, and coming to next stage, having resources to make you more involved in your spiritual movement. And resources can be material and all types. But based on dharma. Third stage, kama, your relationship with human beings. What type of transaction, what type of expectation, what type of attitude you should possess. And that comes under the realm of kama, vital value of life. And final value, the ultimate, the real value is spiritual value. Complete revelation, who am I? And negation of all illusion. So if you do not follow that type of process, the path of purushartha, self-effort, in a right way, and live your life nirarthak without finding the artha. Nirarthak, meaningless. If you don't move towards purpose, meaningless. So how can you be described then? Meaningless worms. You have only 2 legs, but they have hundreds. But they are not achieving anything. They're just crawling. The Hindi word for that is kida, worm. On the other hand, if you have conquered the mind, then the world becomes a field for krida. Krida is, the world becomes a game. A world of sport. So either you go into kida way or krida. If you don't follow that, also become a kida and suffer from pida. Pida is suffering, misery. When the purified intellect of a yogi recognizes objects as expressions of Brahman, then just as a powerful wrestler overthrows a child, so too the mind is overthrown by the spirit in man. Now the mystic heroism, the Upanishad, Kachit Dhira Pratyagatma Namaikshat. Mind and senses are always outgoing. away from the source, away from the truth. But among people, those who have heroism, there are few people. They don't fall for this externalized movement. They conquer their lower self and move towards enlightenment. So, where lies the heroism? Heroism is not to recognize, not to make objects channels for your anger, hate, greed, and all these. Make objects channels for joy, grace, divine beauty, sublimity. Think of anything, even the simple object, breeze. How much good it has done to you? Have you given it thanks? The whole world is permeated by glory of God. Why shouldn't mind develop that sensitivity? I'm giving you quickly, but that's a progressive movement. In the same situation, same circumstances, you can turn your attention to how much grace you have enjoyed. Compared to it, all that you are facing is a little particle. And by that grace, even stormy situations will turn into something graceful. Why to forget the positive movement latent within your personality? Why to highlight always the negative? Look at life. No matter what I did, it always goes bad. And when I say it, even my face goes back. Remember how many wonders have gone on in your life. And not a moment is there without that wondrous grace sustaining you. Shift a little angle, get away from the jungle, and put a little hole, look into it. The slightest glimpse will be so inspiring that will efface, neutralize the strong samskaras you have built up by constant experience of pain and hatred. The negative in you doesn't have power if you turn to positive. Darkness doesn't have power. A cave may have stayed dark for 1,000 years. But research scholars, when they dig into it and open the cave, and the light flashes in, all the darkness goes away without giving a question that they have been here for 1,000,000 years. So wait for 10 years more. No, it simply vanishes. So that type of attitude must be to the negative within yourself. But this advanced way of looking at your own personality. I'm leading to further understanding that divine presence should be recognized in all those with whom you are interacting. सिया राम मैं सब जग जानी. All loving relations, all the love you enjoy and the warmth is coming sourced by God. So therefore you are loving God in each. And if you grow up to a little more higher, then even those who have been a constant thorn and inimical, you begin to understand how much they have helped you to turn to God. So God in them has operated in a mysterious way. Fie on those who do not endeavor to conquer their minds. People go on saying, fie, fie. To allow the fighter go towards your own mind. In other words, become profoundly involved, energetically involved with zeal in pursuing the path of sadhana that will lead you to liberation. And that will require the project of conquering the mind. And the mind is conquered if you live your life with integral yoga in daily life, climaxing with spiritual wisdom, the intuitive revelation, the profound understanding. The I am is absolute, the Satchidananda, non-dual, infinite, eternal. That I am is obscured by where ego I am. Your ego I am is iPad I've been talking about. This iPad contains lots of things. Just like your little iPad contains. So the little I is now a little bigger I. When pad-based experience moves away, then you have real I am. All mind-based experiences through mental thought waves, those experiences like cinema show, projections, your consciousness, which is reality, the I am, acts like the screen. That real I am becomes veiled by the projections. And you go involved with projections and the illusions. And whenever you are told about God, you feel so far. But without God, you cannot experience anything. Even in the state of your utter misery is an awareness. That awareness is absolute. that awareness, absolute ananda, bliss. And in that bliss, misery exists. It's a miracle. That's Kabira said. Jal bich meen piyasi. Water, and you see the fishes. These fishes are thirsty. They're running around. They don't have any place to find water. That's the predicament of all souls. All you are experiencing is based on the screen, the self. Absolute ananda is behind all your thought waves. But deluded by the projections of your mind, you are unable to understand that all the projections and the mind are sustained by pure bliss, where all types of thirst are quenched forever. All this is said quickly, but when you understand it, you bring great improvement in your daily life. Face the same challenges, but you face it with strength. And when you overcome it, you find yourself much more advanced. And gradually, you don't view adversity as adversity. You view you are being handled by God's, you are an instrument in God's hands. Control of mind is the goal of all spiritual disciplines. Disciplines such as service of Guru, study of scriptures, repetition of mantra, all yoga sadhanas. If you have goal in view, you go into this whole process. Without keeping this goal in view, but all these that we described, sadhana, different methods, means, if you continue to do them without having the goal, without having your focus on attaining the goal, then they remain meaningless. That refers to people who do practice a lot of austerity, but they don't have the understanding what they are working for. So they end up as Kumbhakarna, as Ravana, as terrorists and so forth. Also in your sadhana, focus must be to allow your heart to become involved, not just mechanism. Just not, for example, you are doing your mala and you are very strict and efficient to have how to exactly hold your hand, at what degree, at what height, and you have put your diary exactly how many mantras you are going to repeat, and you keep account how many you have done during this month. All that you have done, but internally your bhavana, your feeling has been totally away. what I'm leading you to understand, allow your bhavana, feeling. With each mantra you are touching, let your mind develop a subtle touch. Think of the mind having a little tongue. And mantra is a very fascinating sweetness. With each mantra, you touch it. A taste of divine nectar, where all miseries move away. Immense grace, like big sunlight pours in. Allow that. If you are not allowing that type of imagination, then your mind is doing another type of imagination. So why not follow the same habit of your mind? Mind wants to imagine. Let it have a wondrous imagination. Deal your mind as if a father deals with a baby or a mother deals with a baby. O Rama, renounce the sankalpas. Sankalpas for objects of the world. Sankalpas means mind's involvement. Mind is always thinking about objects, thinking of past, present, future. All your thoughts and concerns, they are described as thoughts of objects. If these thoughts are moved away, then there is mind will not be there, called mano-nash. Just as a cloud is nothing but moisture turned into a cloud. And if every particle of the cloud melts, there is nothing there. Cloud is just moisture, condensed. Similarly, what is mind? For most people, mind, when you start thinking, when you are involved with thinking, imagining, remembering, and holding the burden of the past and imagination for the future, that's mind. And that mind goes on increasing and decreasing depending upon samskaras, all the impressions. But when you allow the mind to enjoy the bliss of the self, allow the mind to turn to the screen, that's all joy, and not to be deluded by the projections. This again is a progressive movement, but if you allow that Ishwar Chintan, bring God within your mental process, then even that the mind as if moves away from you. You have mind, just like you have your iPhone or iPad. And there are times when you are not using it. iPad is not talking to you. So mind is there. I don't need it. Put it away. When you need it, use it. But don't become confined to the mental world. That type of freedom begins to develop in degrees. And it's not something very great. Everyone has moments, times, when you step beyond your mind, and at that time it doesn't matter what was past, what was future, who cares? When you sleep, you are out of your mind. When you become ecstatic in a peaceful situation, then you go beyond your mind. By developing spiritual sadhana in a correct way, integral yoga in daily life, understanding the spiritual truths, you gain that ability to work with the mind and yet transcend the mind. By exercising your subtle intellect, first grasp the fact that Brahman is the reality behind all names and forms. Then through constant vigilance, allow your mind to flow on to Brahman. Let your chitta be overpowered by the chit, and thus you will abide in the self. When you are watching the whole mind set with projections, with the world of time, space, www, where, when, who, why, and all that, then the mind, that type of phenomenon is called chitta, mind stuff. And when illusion moves away, all the projections, the big iPad illusion drops, the real I am remains. That I am is chit, pure consciousness. The Sanskrit word chit, pure awareness. Chitta, awareness, has become involved with projections. And with this I will conclude. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Triambakam Yamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukma Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyama Mritat. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.